All right, y'all. I'm gonna be honest. This is this kind of somber Bonnet Chronicles today. It's been a rough weekend. I'm not gonna mince words. I'm not gonna act like I'm doing this under better circumstances because there is no better circumstances in what happened. Saturday, I decided I didn't even know what had happened. I just in my spirit wasn't feeling dealing with trying the game and stuff. So I took a break and was writing most of the day. And then I found out what happened. And then Sunday, I tried to act like everything was not fine, but that I could just ignore it for a bit, play with my friends in D&D, but my mind just kept weighing on it. And I know that I was in a more of a somber mood than normal. And you can't keep ignoring what goes on around you. I think people need to understand something. Even as an introvert, even as somebody who has jokingly called myself Team Shut In, even before the pandemic, I felt myself isolating from society because of the way people like me are treated, because of the ridiculousness of hate. It was becoming exhausting. The fear of being out in public and dealing with white macro and microaggressions just did not interest me. So when COVID hit, as much of a curse as it was, and believe me, after all the people that we lost and all my friends who are still suffering with the effects of long-term COVID, I don't want this for anybody, but it helped reinforce the agoraphobia that racism was already putting in my mind. So when I say that every time I start to think, maybe we can go back to the little norms that we had, even as an introvert. Maybe we can start planning to do things outside again. Maybe we can start trying to feel a little normal. Something like this happens to viscerally remind me that this world isn't right for us. And it's tiring. What happened in Buffalo shouldn't have happened. But what kills me is how preventable what happened in Buffalo was. What kills me is how many of these people look like family, look like grandmas and aunties and uncles. Somebody's daughter who's just trying to get her paycheck and do her job. Grandmas who do their normal daily shopping. Security guard who just wanted to go there and make sure that people didn't act up. These lives shouldn't have been lost, but they were to hate. And what kills me is just how preventable the situation was. I'm sorry to get emotional about this. But I feel like I spent the whole weekend trying to make sense of something that legitimately doesn't make sense. And I look at the faces of these people that should still be here. When I think about their families having to bury yet more of ours over something so senseless and stupid as a fucking replacement theory. And I read that shit this afternoon because I finally pulled it together to start doing more research so that I knew what the hell I was talking about. When you see the ignorance that people put online, they gather online saying this dumb shit and nobody stops them. It is infuriating. How much more blood do we have to pay? America has been taxing black spirits for so long. We have been paying a mental and spiritual toll for so long. How much more do we have to give? I'm tired, y'all. And I wanted so hard to wait until Tuesday, but I couldn't take it anymore. I woke up this morning just fired up about this because it's exhausting. And I didn't want any extra influence. I'm sure that people have done talk shows and everything about this. I needed you to see how raw this is. I might not have lived in Buffalo, but being from New York, knowing that these little pocket incels are here in Michigan too, literal y'all Qaedas here who just do shit like this all the fucking time and get away with it. People want to act like the stuff they say, oh, that's just table talk. What kind of fucking table talk are you having where your relatives can say stuff like, oh, we're being replaced? This young man was 18 years old and fully indoctrinated in the hate. And then you combo that with the easy access to fucking weapons that our country just sees, oh, we can't get a handle on this, but you could. We can legislate women's bodies, no problem. We literally have a Florida governor trying to mandate against the LGBTQ. But you're telling me we can't regulate 18-year-olds, especially since that seems to be the biggest crop of domestic terrorists, like the Kenosha killer. I don't think these people aren't emboldened by asshole murderers like Rittenhouse, who literally got away with murder, to doing stuff like this. And once again, the news cycles regurgitating the same bullshit about mental health. I am a literal schizophrenic with bipolar disorder. I have plenty of struggles with my mental health. Not once did I think, gee, I should get my hands on an AR-15 and just take out a bunch of people. So it's fucking bullshit. And I am tired of them putting that on my fucking reality. But people don't want to talk about that. You don't want to talk about this young man's mental health? How healthy is it for you to be growing up in one of these small little fucking hick cow towns, hearing nothing about how, oh, you know, how to protect people that look like you. You're the master race. You got nothing going on for you, so that you just build up that anger. And you get easy access to fucking guns. You want to take it out on anybody that doesn't look like you. And this country fucking kills me because I've watched them put friends on fucking watch lists for being Muslim. I've watched them strip families of their rights and dignity because of so-called terrorism. But these fuckers put manifestos online that leave a little digital paper trail to what they're gonna do. And crickets. I'm sick of it. You look at these fuckers right here. It's a clear sign. And then you got the whatabouters. And those are the people that kill me. And welcome to the chat, Turner Runner. I wish they would leave us alone. You get these whatabouters that go, well, what about black crime? And I'm telling you tonight, don't fucking come at me with that shit no more. I'm not going to act like my people are completely 100% innocent of every fucking thing. I'm not going to act like we aren't problematic, but there's a complete difference. For every single one of these guys, I can name maybe 2 or 3 known black mass shooters. Just recently, that Subway guy and the Beltway shooters that I know off the top of my head, Lee Mavo and them. But for every one of those, you've got these guys. You've got little pocket incels. You got 14 of those fuckers that were indicted. 2 of them already let go for the indictment, who tried to kidnap the governor here in Michigan. White anger and ignorance is fucking dangerous, and we cannot keep ignoring it because, oh, we don't want to make people uncomfortable. Who don't you want to make uncomfortable? Because we don't frankly talk about how hate is really indoctrinating and twisting these young men. We are watching the lives of innocent people lost. People's grandmas, people's moms, people's sisters and uncles who aren't going to be able to come home because some little bastard sitting there talking about the replacement theory and how white people are going to be erased. It's sickening. And it's so fucking prevalent. And It feels like the people that could be doing something, that should be doing something, aren't. I'm so sick of hearing things like, oh, we're going to open an investigation. The bitch live streamed it. He literally live streamed himself murdering people because he felt justified in it. And he felt justified in it because he's indoctrinated. Between the garbage that Fox propaganda pushes, the bullshit he hears from assholes like Alex Jones and Joe Rogan, this toxic combo of quasi to blatant racism, sexism, just feeding this disgusting narrative. And then you got the NRA making sure that guns are easily put in their hands. And it is a fucking toxic combination. And we see where we could cut the line of supply. We see how we could stop the ease of access to weapons. But oh no, that's too hard. We can't dare vote in legislators that would do that. We could stop Fox News in its tracks from pushing out bullshit and lies. But oh no, we got to give them freedom of speech to spread lies. And you literally see online where they are congregating in message boards, whether it's the fucking places like 4chan or wherever, just saying these ridiculously hateful things. And I have to ask, what the fuck are they saving? What is being replaced exactly that they need to salvage so much? The young man looked like every average dorky-ass rural white dude. He wasn't fucking prime stock. Yet they get these delusions in their head. And somehow they have to preserve themselves. Angry and ignorant does not need preservation. I don't see this rise of hatred in response to every stride that we have currently been making within politics and social structures. This backlash, or blacklash, as I like to call it, is a direct response to every major positive stride we make. Every time we move forward, this country tries to drag us back, and it needs to stop. The fact that this young man wanted to write a manifesto talking about how, oh, black people get $70,000 in government handouts, sir. White people make the most off of bailouts, off of food stamps, off of government subsidies, if you want to get fucking technical. But even if that wasn't the case, considering that you never gave reparations for the fact that you took my ancestors from their home, forcefully implanted them, built generational wealth for a lot of you fuckers off of their blood, their backs, and their kids. You destroyed lives, generations of black lives. 70 grand a fucking year wouldn't even be a drop in the fucking bucket of what you owe black America. So for the fact that that made that man angry enough to get a gun and take 10 innocent lives is bullshit. But the fact that Al-Qaeda continues on kills me. If it ain't these fuckers that literally stormed our Capitol, I'm using political cartoon because I really don't want to bring back the January 6th images. But the fact that white people can be angry and organized and get their hands on these mass weapons, they had the capital to do it. Yet their whole anger is fear. I'm going to be replaced. You're giving other people too much stuff. I need to have more stuff. And our side ain't much better with the far left fuckers who only want to talk about what's in it for them. I am so fucking tired of this. I'm so tired of seeing the cause of the problem. The root is white entitlement. And we can't keep meat and stuff with kumbaya, which was one of my issues with the mayor of Boston. Not Boston, Buffalo. He wanted to make it where he talks about this can't cause racial divide. So we've already been divided. I know where you're trying to come from, but this is not the time for a come together moment. I'm not suggesting divisiveness. I'm suggesting effective measures to this because we cannot keep ignoring this issue. We can't keep hoping and praying that people know better, because they are literally being indoctrinated. People want to talk about Muslim terror cells all the time, and I am not what most people would call religious like normal people. I have openly embraced my paganism, so I speak from an outsider's perspective, but from the people that were close to me that identify and practice as Muslims, these last few years have been a fucking nightmare for them. Whenever somebody right-wing is in charge, their lives are made miserable, whether it's mosque attack or 45's ridiculous Muslim ban. It's funny how hate can organize and group a whole bunch of people together and put them on watch lists and make them feel like fucking prisoners in their own country, whether they're citizens or just visitors. Yeah, our side, oh, we gotta worry about the humanity of these literal domestic terrorists who leave digital blatant crumbs to what they're gonna do. But like I said, every time you interview these fuckers' families, every time you talk to the people around them, well, they said things, but then we thought it was just table talk. You know, they made comments about this replacement theory, but we didn't take it seriously. We've seen them buying weapons, but we didn't decide to report them or anything, because they're indoctrinated too. And it's got to stop. We have people who enable this bullshit, and we have people who fully embrace terroristic ideology, and the people who pay are always innocent victims. Those grandmas weren't out there causing this man any trouble. They didn't even know him. They were minding their business shopping like everybody does. They should still be here. And the fact that he got taken in alive shows how due process worked for certain people. The police wanted to make sure that he was taken in alive so that he could get a fair trial by his peers. Yet be a black kid in a fucking hoodie. See how much due process is afforded you. Can't even fucking sit in a car that they think is stolen without getting shot all up in your back. This country is fucking ridiculous. And I'm angry. And I can't even hold it in anymore. I'm tired, y'all. When I say this weekend completely shattered my spirit, I'm not being hyperbolic. After the last few years of trying to deal with constant loss, trying to deal with people struggling around you, trying to keep your family safe, and dealing with the agoraphobia that was already building from trying to separate myself from racism, you just get to that point where you feel like you're about to snap. And I swear, I felt like this almost pushed me over the edge again. Because it feels like we never get a break. We have lost so many good people to just senselessness. And it doesn't seem to be stopping. And the people who should be stopping it, it feels like you want this cycle. Like, stop opening up investigations and start passing laws against these weapons. There's no reason why non-military in non-combat situations should have access to assault rifles. If black militia started fully arming themselves with AR-15s and just storming places constantly left and right, I guarantee you stuff would be on the books. But it shouldn't have to take that. And it is exhausting that these young men, as young as fucking 18, whose only fucking training is from fucking Halo and other fucking video games, are literally arming themselves, indoctrinated by hate, and taking lives. It has to stop. We have histories of violent outbursts, history of misogynistic outbursts. They are the root of the problem. You're not putting them on watch list. You know, people once got on me because I put a meme on Twitter using that Family Guy thing that Seth MacFarlane created with Peter showing terrorist thing, and there was a swatch of different skin tones. And the darker the skin tone, the more likely to be a terrorist. And they let him go, even though he was literally about to commit an act of terror. And apparently the white people, me pointing that out, made me more racist than the actual point being made. Because that's another deflection tactic a lot of people try to put on people when we want to talk. Real talk about racism. Oh, you talking about the issue makes you racist. Nah, get the fuck out of here with that. We have to stop giving in and playing these games. I don't care what the fuck you label me after this. I am just sick and tired of us not shining a light on this issue. I've talked about theocracy for the longest time. I talk about the disrespect of women for the longest time. I've talked about hate. But it feels like these victories that he have are so preventable. Yet the people that could do stuff, the lawmakers that could do stuff, even if it's smaller measures like assault rifle bans, which to me isn't really a small measure. I don't give a fuck about the Second Amendment, honestly, anymore. This is supposed to be for a well-armed militia to defend against foreign and domestic attacks on our soil. We can't defend against a stupid 18-year-old who's fucking indoctrinated by 4chan hate groups and who seems to think that he's being replaced, which, FYI, you probably needed to be replaced. What the fuck are we trying to save with that genetic stock? When did the society decide that a lack of pigment made you better, and when can we get the fuck away from that fallacy? Because it's exhausting. I have learned to let people show me who they are and prove to me whether or not they're worth my time and attention. Yet I collectively have had to deal with being monolith because of my skin tone. But when I've seen constant, over the years, proof that white people are angry, ignorant, terrorists, I get called racist for feeling that way. Even though there's direct, literal proof that you turn to anger and snuffing out lives when you don't get your way. You don't even have to look that far. Just this weekend to see the constant reminders of what happens when you get angry and you think, I need to take out lives, instead of, I need to be a better person. And what kills me about what happened to those people is that this will be swept under the rug when something else happens. Because it's going to keep happening because we don't address the issue. We don't address how easy it is for these haters to congregate. We don't report when we see the constant red flags. Literal manifestos posted online constantly. They group up on places like Twitter and Facebook, literally saying harmful, hateful things, yet they get little to no pushback. And if assholes like the apartheid Angela get their way, they'll be able to say stuff under freedom of speech. It is exhausting living in a country where this shit is constantly acceptable. And what makes it worse is being a mom in this country, doing everything I can to try to protect my son, doing everything I can to try to keep him from being America's next hashtag, and knowing that these little fuckers who are inundated by bullshit they see online and shit they say at Xbox Live playing shooters seep into their pores, and all they want to do is espouse hate. And for what? Where does that get them or us? Nothing but death and destruction. When is it going to stop? Like I said, the toll has been great, and Black lives have paid in abundance since this country's inception. And I'm fucking tired of it. I'm tired of paying the blood tax. I'm tired of paying the spirit tax. I am tired of the mental toll this takes on our community every fucking time it happens. Whether it is a life lost to legalized lynching, like George Floyd or Deontay Wright or Edmund McCain. Whether it's Breonna Taylor, who will never get justice because they decided that her murder was justified, whether it's the numerous children we have lost, Trayvon, Tamir, Ayanna, so many lives lost to hate. How much more do we have to give to this blood and spirit tax? If these fuckers want to talk about, oh, government handouts. FYI, the government still owes black people. Whether you want to accept that or not, I don't give a fuck anymore. Historically speaking, every single Fortune 500 company in this country has some ties to the slave trade. Every fucking bank, especially old banks, the fucking Wall Street stock market itself, every single thing that built America's wealth was done on the backs and bloods of my fucking ancestors. Yet anytime reparations is brought up, it's shot down. Well, I didn't own slaves, so why should I pay for that? Why should I pay for what my ancestor did? But we can codify laws, bring in people like me. We can continue an unjust system. It's funny the shit that you will allow to go through. But when you want to talk about the government doing its fucking job and taking care of the people who literally built the financial foundation that this country fucking coasts off of, it's fucking crickets. And you raise these harmful, hateful little individuals. You give them access to fucking murder weapons because that's all an AR-15 is. It is not a toy. It is not a hunting weapon. It is literally the fastest killing machine known to man in gun form. And you think that this isn't a recipe for fucking disaster that could be prevented if people would give a fuck. And I'm telling you right now, we black people, we have to do something. I don't know what. I don't want to separate. There are times where I feel like it though. Like I said on Friday, right in this isekai that I've been working on has been both a blessing and a curse. I love that I can learn more about black mythology. I love weaving worlds where our stories can be intertwined with such rich cultural stuff. But when I think about that world, I think about a world untouched by white supremacy, untouched by colonialism. Yeah, there's always going to be problems because humans are really the root of a lot of our issues. But when I think about how humanities could have been without white supremacy, I get depressed because I feel like that is the specter looming over so many cultures that people try to ignore or act like, oh, it's not so bad because they benefit from it. Or, oh, it's not so bad because they don't feel the direct impact of it. But if you have never been othered, if you have never felt like, oh my God, just being around a police officer doesn't fill me with a sense of confidence. It fills me with a sense of fear and dread because you never know if that bigot with a badge is going to take you out. If the thought of some young white guy just walking around your neighborhood makes you wonder if he is looking to cause you harm, because that's the reality now. You want to talk about how black men make you feel. And I've been 100% honest about my struggles with that in the past because of what happened to me when I was younger. But there is a difference between fearing certain men because of an assault and knowing that I could literally be killed based on some young dummy with access to firearms just indoctrinated by hate. There is no place to feel safe. And it's exhausting. When I say that the mental toll is great, I'm not lying to y'all. It is extremely tiring trying to figure out how we can survive and keep safe in there. And it is unfair in this day and age. We have digital devices that should be making people smarter, should be making people more open to this world. And instead, it's just creating pockets of little terrorist cells. And whether they act on their own or not, they are amped up by other little assholes like them. And they don't just target black people. You got incels who target women in general because they think, well, I can't get my dick wet, so I've got to attack women. He seems to be getting these victories that are so unnecessary. And the fact that we have devices that are smarter than the people on them is part of the problem. The fact that this divide keeps going on and then people want to talk about, well, we can't be divided. We are already divided. We allow the society that redlined us. We allow the society that said, oh, you're free, but we're going to be separate but equal. We literally had to fight to integrate schools, and people white flighted out of it. That's why you have these pockets of rural America full of people that look nothing but fucking Cornhusker white. And they get angry at any kind of urbanism, as they want to call it. And like I said, I'm not even saying this in full defense of my community, but I can't begin to even get my hands on our community's problems because we still have to deal with the specter of white supremacy snuffing us out willy-nilly. Whether that white supremacist wears a badge or whether he's just a fucking 18-year-old whose parents don't monitor their gun purchases. It is exhausting. And you can't tell me to fix the issues in my community when you fucking ignore the issues in your community. When you ignore the indoctrination that comes from the damn pulpit to what's on their TV screens, to what's on their devices and forums. When you literally hear your family members talking about being replaced. I watched that fucking weird-ass trucker convoy in Canada, because it's not just here. I wish it was just an American problem. But it is spread like a poison even up to our neighbors in the north. And this literal guy that looked like a blob of mayo. And I know, I'm not trying to act like I'm a fucking supermodel, but I've never tried to pass my look, so I don't care. But this motherfucker, when I say he looks like a jar of rancid goo, talking about, we have to protect the white race. My brain just said, are you serious? Even Canada now? Even the place that I took my kid 6 years ago and felt at peace. Felt like this was a nice vacation. The people here are nice. You know, it was just a good experience. And to see how right-wing terror cells have infiltrated that country too, there is no safe place. And it's fucking tiring. We have to start calling this shit out. We have to start enacting legislation that if you are online and you get busted posting manifestos, if your family can report your habits of saying harmful, hateful things, if you're buying mass amounts of weapons, you should not only be on a watch list, but you should be banned from being able to do shit like that. Because why is it that we protect the rights of these fuckers until they do shit like this? Because my son can't wear a hoodie. It's real funny how vigilant you can profile some people. They're to wear hijab in this country. They're to wear yarmulke in this country. They're to wear your pagan symbols openly in this country. Because I can't get rid of my other features. I've lived my life as other, and while it is built up somewhat of a carapace, there's only so much damage you can take before it gets to you. And I wish this worry was just for myself, because then I could detach. Because the nihilist in me is like, well, anything that happens, happens. But as a mom, the realities of this fucking shit-ass world This fucking stupid society that keeps allowing this hatred to go unchecked. These groups of people to continue to terrorize us whenever they don't get their way, to spread misinformation on who's getting what and who's being replaced. If you're still looking at humanity based on your pigment or lack thereof, you're a problem. We're all humans. We might have cultural differences, we might have physical differences, but we are all human beings. And you should have learned that by now. But you keep channeling your ancestry who want to dehumanize, who would rather us be in those fields again, toiling and dying for fucking free while you fucking rape and pillage us. It ain't gonna happen, man. And it's just fucking exhausting. The elders who have survived so much are now gone due to hate. And I am sick and tired of seeing black bodies buried to white aggression. We've had several historical massacres. And it kills me because 2 years ago, I had people on Twitter telling me shit like, I didn't know about Tulsa. I didn't know about the Tulsa thing until I watched The Watchmen. How come they didn't teach us this in school? Yeah, how come? You want to know how come? Because anytime we tried to teach real history, white people pushed against it. They have infiltrated our school boards. They cry CRT at anything black. So yeah, you have to learn about things like Tulsa and Wilmington and Rosewood and what happened in Pennsylvania. I'm trying to think of the town. They literally kept the bodies of black children from that. They dropped bombs on a fucking neighborhood. Black massacres are not new. Black lynching is not new. In fact, in the 80s, the KKK were indicted and arrested and convicted for lynching a black man. This is not old history. You can't just dismiss what's going on as, well, that happened 400 years ago, so we shouldn't talk about it. We need to talk about it all. We need to show the horrors of the past, the current, and what could happen in the future if we keep turning a blind eye to the realities of this. Because the one seductive thing about hate is just how easy it is to fall into that mindset. Well, they have and I don't, so I need to be angry about it. And I don't exactly know what they have, but I can't understand this because I've only grown up around people that look like me. So I have to keep stoking the fires of ignorance. And these people continuously feed this repetitive loop. They never fucking barely leave their backyards. They only get a half-ass view of other cultures. And it's always met with toxic ignorance. And that is on us. Because these rural towns are completely cut off from letting kids be out and experience the world. The educational system in a lot of places is abysmal as well. Drug use and depression, alcoholism runs rampant. Yet they want to talk about urban decay? At least black people have an excuse. Society has always tried to fucking lesser our position. And every time we rise above, we're met with backlash. But you don't have that excuse, and you still have the decay. Honestly speaking, y'all, it's exhausting thinking about the waste of potential, not just of innocent black lives, but white people who just give in so casually and so easily to hate. You get so indoctrinated by it, and that anger not only burns you out, but you waste any bit of so-called potential you have. How's that fucking master race shit dealing with you when you're sitting in a fucking jail cell for the rest of your life? We have prison numbers for the rest of your fucking days. You ain't making babies that way, you dumbass. It's exhausting. They don't think. They don't have the critical thinking skills. Yet they have ease of access to fucking AR-15s, which I will keep saying throughout this cast. We need legislators. New York, seriously, get rid of the fucking showboaters like AOC and get some real fucking representatives. Retire Schumer if you need to and get some fucking senators who have the fucking stones to start passing comprehensive gun reform. It's beyond time. I've said it before. My family are gun owners. We have been a strong military family. I talk about it all the time with pride. I still have the flag that my grandfather was sent with. So I take that shit seriously. When we learned firearms trade and we were taught this is not a toy. If you are going to use it, you use it for its intended purpose. So I take gun ownership seriously. But there is a difference between owning a piece to protect your home and having a fucking arsenal like your wannabe fucking Punisher. Way too many of these fucking people cosplay as if they are some kind of fucking vigilante. And sure, you want to bring up mental health, fine. But for every person who wants to bring up that young man's mental health, you need to bring up the fucking generational trauma of trying to survive in a society that wants you dead for something that you have no fucking control over. The constant reminders, the fucking hashtags, the names that keep filling the roster of unjust life loss. It takes its toll. So I don't give a fuck about that young man's mental health right now. I care about the families who are currently mourning. I care about every black person right now who are just so tired of this, who are tired of spilling tears over our lost brothers and sisters. I'm tired of retail employees having the stress of having to go into a job where they can literally lose their lives. Because this shit just happened in Tennessee too. That's why I said, I don't want this shit to keep happening. And this isn't a one-off. This year has been violent. And it has to stop. And we see the clear patterns that these guys leave. We see their digital calling cards. The FBI and the Mass Task Force for just about anything. They want them labeled BLM a fucking domestic threat when 45 was in charge. And I don't think that there are people in the FBI that still want to name anything black organized as terroristic. Because the darker your skin, the more prone to people grouping you up together and labeling any of your groups bad. Yet there's a clear group of individuals who have caused violence and harm on a repeated level to women, to their fellow white people, to black people. And yet it's ignored. And they want to act like, oh, it's just lone wolves. Nuh-uh. Let me tell you something. As somebody who loves wolves, and not just because of my ancestral background, as somebody who literally loves animals and nature, wolves are pack animals. They protect. And it kills me when you call a cowardly murderer somebody who wants to think that they're better than everybody, who takes a gun and destroys life. They're not protectors, so they're not wolves. So you need to stop fucking calling them lone wolves. We need to do away with that fucking term, especially for these cowardly shooters. They're fucking murderers. That Tops Supermarket killer live streamed it, which means the shit is getting more blatant and more bold. And within the last 2 years, these attacks have been nothing but blatant and bold. Just last year in GA, we lost 9 Asian lives. I don't want people to forget the fact that, oh, he was just having a bad day. Are you fucking kidding me? These guys have been having a bad day for over 400 fucking years. And we need to stop making excuses for their arrogance, their ignorance, and their violence towards us. Because it's not getting any better. And the more we excuse and try to make excuses for this behavior, the more lives are lost. I hate that I have to spend damn near an hour being serious like this. But I'm telling you, I am fucking tired of seeing this. This is not a one-off story. And I don't want people treating it like it's a one-off story. I don't want people treating these lives like, oh, well, it happened. Because this is on top of so many other acts of unnecessary aggression that has been fueled by years of religious idolatry, toxic white Christianity, and lies just spread in these little rural sects. And like I said, it's everywhere in this country, but especially here in the Midwest. They'll listen to stuff like Eminem and other rap groups in one ear, or maybe they'll listen to death metal in one ear, and then they'll turn on talk and hear about how, oh, the Biden-Harris administration is about to help a whole bunch of people that'll look like you, and it'll make it harder for you. And they fucking get indoctrinated by these fucking garbage lies. Because in their world, it's us versus them, instead of realizing that we're all of us. We have been socially structured on an invisible chessboard to be pieces. And so many of you are willing to be ignorant pawns lost. You aren't soldiers. You're not winning a war. And the only thing you're going to get for your troubles is either dead or a fucking orange jumpsuit and a slow death in a fucking prison cell for the rest of your life. Is that what you really want? Was that the goal of your fucking nonsense? I look at assholes like Dylan Roof, and his story breaks my heart the worst because it was so unnecessary. He had a chance to turn back. He went into a church. He prayed with the people. He even said, I thought about stopping. They treated me with kindness. They sang with me. They prayed with me. They treated me like a human being. But he was so indoctrinated by his hatred of fellow human beings, because I need to keep stressing that. We are humans. He was so indoctrinated by the thought that he had to do this, to start a race war, because that's the next misconception that these little fucking domestic terrorist incels put out there. That this is somehow going to start the next race war, that they'll win for the white race. It's bullshit. And he murdered 9 people in that church. And then the cops not only gave him due process, but took him to get food because he looked hungry. Now, he's going to be met with whatever execution methods they have in South Carolina. So all of that, he did all of that to end up getting the death penalty. What the fuck? Is it worth it? What are you trying to preserve at this point? And welcome to the chat, Respect. I just don't understand. You can never make me understand the logic of white people at this point. And I know it's not all of them, but the fact that I can even hear in my head, even being off Twitter for almost 2 months now, the amount of people that would want to go not all is infuriating, because enough of you. The idea that there are people out there that would even try to defend at this point. I'm tired. And I know I'm far from the only one. And if you're thinking, Tim, I'm white, what can I do? Be a better person. I know it seems simplistic. I know it seems like it's impossible, but you have got to work on you. You've got to work on any prejudice you have, not just against black people, any bigotry, and start shedding that shit like a bad skin off of your body. Exfoliate that shit because it's toxic. You've got to work on just listening, Getting away from hate has to be your path. I would love to tell you, oh, work on your kid. You can't. The only person that can change you is you. And there is no amount of hate that you can't walk away from if you're really ready to do it. And you can't do it for a pat on the back. I'm always leery of those people that are like, I used to be a racist, but now my BuzzFeed article. If you're being a spokesperson for anti-racist when you were a blatant racist, I'm the side eye you. Because you should be doing that shit whether there's a camera on you or not. The path of anti-bigotry is unsung, and you need to be on it. You don't need to be not all-in or jumping in the black or anybody who's non-whites mentions talking about, well, it's not me, so what can I do to get a pat on the head? And if you're a white person reaching out to a black person this week, and I got a lot of that, and I thank so many of you who did, but you need to understand that I am in a really low period right now, so I can't respond to everybody, and I won't. I'm not even going to make an excuse. I can't massage people's guilt this week. I know you see me hurting. I know for some of you think, well, you know, as long as we're cool, it's all right. I don't know how cool I am with a lot of people anymore. Greg hugged me today, and I just broke down because it's exhausting. I want to look at my partner as my partner. But the first time this morning, I looked at him and I thought, if I wasn't in love with you, if you hadn't been my best friend, I wouldn't feel safe around you. And that is the reality of these last few years. I don't like this. I don't like the way it makes me feel. But people need to see the reality of this shit. Because it takes its toll on everything good around you. And I know my relationship is strong, and I know we will survive this. But I never want to get in my mind where I don't feel safe with the man I love. I already don't feel safe around his people, and that's not a good thing either. That's not how it should be. But that is the reality of this situation because they're indoctrinated by this foolish fucking thinking. That whole idea that being in a small town makes you better. And that everybody on the outside is bad and people that don't look like you are too different. That shit is real. I've seen it in fucking 4K here in Michigan. We literally have sundown towns here. It is fucking scary. I thought I left that shit when I left the South, and nope. It's ridiculous. And it's exhausting, and it's infuriating. And I just want it to stop. I want this world to fucking be better. I want humans to realize we are all one species, and that cultural and ethnic different and diversity doesn't mean you're being replaced, you fucking Nimrod. I just don't understand how that became a prevalent thought. How your lack of pigmentation is somehow a betterment. I just need people to understand that it's fucking ridiculous in this day and age. It has been thoroughly disproven. Eugenics was garbage. Hatred is ridiculous, and too many of you embrace it because it's the most easy, laziest way of fucking thinking. And I'm tired of seeing the black blood tax being paid. I'm tired of the toll constantly. You can never repay back the damage you have done to our communities and our society. But you need to fucking start repairing the hole in your own hearts that fester this hatred. Because all it's bringing is death and destruction and chaos. It is not helping anybody. Humanity was supposed to be further along than where it is right now. We should be exploring places. We should be smarter. We have literal devices that are smarter than us. And it's fucking sickening. We are so busy trying to figure out ways to separate and harm each other instead of fucking grow and flourish together as a fucking species. And it's tiring. And I am so sick of seeing lives lost, but especially elders. This hurts the worst because I was thinking about my grandmother the other day. I keep her picture on my desk. This woman was my fucking world. And when I say I miss her every day, I think about her and my aunties who are still in New York. My grandma passed in 2011. But I think about how they do their daily, everyday stuff like going to play their numbers, going to the corner store, the grocery store, average everyday things that they should be safe doing. And there's no guarantee of that. There's no guarantee that they can go in to pick up groceries and leave safe. What kind of hell is this? What kind of hell is this where doing natural, normal things in your own fucking country results in you being a body count because some fucking dumbass 18-year-old indoctrinated by fucking Xbox Live and incel chats decides I need to take out people because I'm being replaced. I don't understand this world. And the more I write the fictional world I'm writing, the worse it becomes. Being here is fucking exhausting. You get constant reminders of your differentness. Yet when you try to have people full on confront the issue, oh no, I don't see color. I don't want to talk about the issue. It makes me uncomfortable. We have based so much of how we handle things off white people's comfort, and I need white people to be uncomfortable at this point. I am so fucking tired of worrying about your comfort. And it's true, respect. It doesn't make sense. Because you're not being replaced at all. Humanity is still going to thrive. You might even find somebody that doesn't look or culturally identify the same as you and make an even better version of yourself. But oh my gosh, that's diluting stuff. No, y'all are dumb. This whole idea is just ignorance and hatred, and people fall for it because it's so fucking easy to fall for. It's the lowest bar on the thought process. It's crazy because nowadays it is more of a revolution to be a decent person than ever. To just have respect for other people, to just be civil to people. I don't even mean kind, because I'm not always kind. I've always made it clear. I've never labeled myself a good person. I've always labeled myself a balanced person. I'm decent to you until you have to pull that bitch out of me. But some people out there, you just lean into the fucking ignorance. And like I said, when I look at the people that say shit like, oh, we're being replaced. When I look at these fuckers who are literal domestic terrorists again, you look at these people. What are we salvaging with these people? What exactly are we worried about being replaced with this kind of lot? I'm just fucking tired of it. And I don't want to hear any more what's about. I don't want to hear about my community's issues. Because on a fucking national scale, these groups are spreading and continuing. And on a global scale, they have been problematic. And yet, other places shut them down. New Zealand had their wannabe asshole. He took lives. The Prime Minister of New Zealand shut down assault rifles. They handled it. Why can't we have legislators do the same thing here? I know that overnight we're not going to stop these pocket incels of hate, but we can at least nip one of the most pressing problems in the bud, which is ease of access to assault rifles. There is absolutely no reason And if you are hearing this, if you have gotten through this full hour of this, you need to be calling your congressperson. You need to be writing them. You need to be making sure that on your ballot there are measures for gun control, because it's beyond time. How many more people have to pay the blood tax? And like I said earlier, it is not just black elders that have lost their lives. We have lost so many people deemed others to hate. And it's got to stop. And like I said, y'all put so many other people, brown of hue or certain social ideology, on watch lists. Y'all love to group certain groups as threats. These guys are literal threats. They have proven acts of violence. It's beyond time for a domestic terrorist watch list. It's beyond time for us to start rounding up these areas that allow open hatred, whether it's going to end up being Twitter because apartheid edgelord wants it to be freedom of speech land. Any place that condones hatred needs to be watched. And we need to stop turning a blind eye to these terrorists, because too many people's lives are lost. I'm going to wrap this up saying this. These elders should still be here. Their families shouldn't be dealing with having to bury them to this. We are still not out of the woods with COVID. This pandemic has wreaked havoc on so many lives and households. We don't deserve this. No one deserves to have to live with the kind of fear that this brings. So if this angers you or saddens you, if you feel anything tonight after watching this, I need you to understand that we have to enact this change. We have to elect officials that will protect us from this stuff. We have to stop allowing these world towns to indoctrinate these little hateful mongers. We have to call out places like online spaces, whether it's gaming or not, that allow them to congregate and spread this hateful stuff. We have to push back against this fucking mentality. The replacement theory is idiotic and it's causing more harm than good. I want you to remember these elders tonight. I want you to remember that young lady who's just there trying to do her job. I want you to know that this has to stop. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. I thank you all so much for joining in. Thank you so much, Respect. Thank you, Turtles. Thank you, everybody who shares these online. I wanted to try to wait till Tuesday to do this cast, but I couldn't. I was feeling this in my soul that if I didn't speak tonight about what happened this weekend, I was going to snap. I have been in complete mourning over the lives lost. But I've been infuriated by the people who keep trying to act like, oh, this is just, no more lone wolf, no more talking about mental health. We need to nip this white hatred in its fucking bud, because there's too many shitty crops all over the U.S. And until we weed out this field of garbage, its toxic chokehold on our society is going to continue. But I'm going to wrap this up. Go make dinner. Try to calm down. Thank you all so much for sitting in. Hopefully tomorrow I'll feel up to doing another one of these. Hopefully a less heavier topic. But right now I needed to get this out of my system. So thank you so much, and I will see you soon.